episode 4. Me and Kelven back at it.
We never left.
Yeah, this episode we were talking about off-field shenanigans, antics, whatever you want to call it, affect on-field performances. I know some athletes say no, but then their stats show something else, and that's what we're discussing. And we'll try to hit a variety of sports, as we like to do on SportsSqwad.
Oh, yeah.
And try to cover all the bases. So, we'll start off with, I guess, something that both me and Kelven find really entertaining, is that the Giants last year in the playoffs, when they partied on the boat, was it just the wide receivers, or was it
it was just the wide receivers. You can imagine Eli Manning's pale ass in that boat down in Miami.
I knew Eli wasn't there, but I wasn't sure.
All shirtless, wearing jeans and Timbs.
Where's jeans and Timbs on a yacht?
Yeah, people from New York, I guess.
Yeah, so they lost. That was the week before the playoffs started.
Yes.
They clinched in the last week, if I remember right.
Yes.
Right? And then that Monday...
They played Washington, if I'm not mistaken. They beat Washington.
Yeah, because the Eagles...
Played the Cowboys.
But it was week 17. They clinched the
Eagles.
Yeah. So,
so it's playing for nothing, basically.
Tony Romo's last touchdown pass.
Terrence Williams.
Was at the link. Yep. Which does not have a jail. Colin Cowherd.
I can't believe you said that.
The vet had a jail. That is legit. And it got imploded 13 years ago. I need to get that out. But yeah. So the back to the Giants. They lost that playoff game to somebody.
Green Bay Packers.
To the Packers. So they lost to the Packers, and this season they have yet to win a game.
They're 0-5 since the boat party.
Yep, 0-5 as of this recording. If this gets released after they win a game, want to clarify that if they win a game. It'd be so great if they start the season like 0-12. Knowing my luck, though, they're going to go 12-4 now. OBJ is going to catch like 3,000 yards, 60 touchdowns.
You got to still remember that Eli Manning is a quarterback.
That's
so
true.
I mean, you got to temper those those wild fantasies.
So I think it did affect. I think going on that boat, it's cool to celebrate the night of. I think it's all right. Like, you just clinch a playoff spot.
Oh yeah, like champagne in the locker room.
Champagne in the locker room. Maybe hit a bar at night, something like that. But to go to a boat the next day and then to have all the media, especially in today's age where all the media is going to see you. Oh, yeah. Especially New York media. Yeah. You kind of have to know.
Especially when you go on a boat party with Justin Bieber. Like, that's going to get picked up.
Yeah. And it showed. They lost. And
the offense started off pretty slow in that game, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm trying to... So I don't remember it being a close game. Aaron Rodgers was also on fire near the end of last season. Yeah. Until he played the Falcons. So that was part of it too. But still, I think it affected all the media and everybody asking questions and all that stuff. And I think it greatly affected it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's... I don't know if it directly affected the entire team because it was just the wide receivers. And you can make the argument that Victor Cruz didn't benefit from it because he eventually got cut by the Giants and then didn't re-sign with the Bears and then got cut by the Bears in this offseason. So I think you can make I think he sauced away his days right at the NFL. Yeah. So I think you can kind of make that comparison. But I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. is still lighting it up quite literally. Like he's still insane. Probably the best wide receiver in the league. If not definitely top 5. But so I wouldn't say that it directly affected the entire team. I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Eli is Eli.
Right, exactly. Obviously, another notable Giants off-field incident that happened is Jason Pierre-Paul blowing 3 of his fingers off.
Yep.
He really still hasn't been the same player since then, obviously, because it's kind of hard to.
I forget he's still playing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll hear him on the primetime.
Like exactly on primetime games, they'll still try and play him out as like this elite player, but usually your elite defensive linemen need to have 10 fingers. Yeah. And he does not.
That's been a few years too.
Exactly. And so you haven't really heard a lot from him. I know he just got a big contract in the offseason too, But I mean, he really hasn't been the same player. There's a reason why they waited longer to get that contract too, just because they didn't know what kind of product they were going to get off of a defensive end who needs to use hand technique, but doesn't, and you using your fingers on your hands to do hand technique, and he doesn't have all 10 fingers on his one hand, or all 10 fingers. I mean, that's a specific off-field incident that I mean is definitely a real thing that is pretty funny, but also very unfortunate at the same time. The dude lost a lot of money and lost a lot of respect, and just really hasn't been the same player since.
Yeah, and like every time I'm like, oh yeah, JPP.
Yeah,
he was a person.
But as far as like a mental aspect goes, I don't think that it's a direct correlation. I feel like it's not a mental type thing, because I think a lot of times the players do a really good job of separating their off-field lives, off-field incidences on like into like the real life. I mean, Tiger Woods was cheating on his wife with 15 different women behind the entire world's back, and he was winning major after major. It can be said that once that all came to the fan and everything that kind of happened and that kind of got exposed, he obviously hasn't been the same player since. He hasn't won any majors since. He's constantly been injured and rehabbing. I
only think he's won 2 or 3
like events. Events.
PGA events. Yeah. I think he won the Memorial one year, which is in Ohio.
Yeah.
But that's about it. He hasn't.
But yeah, he hasn't been.
I think with Tiger though, it was a culmination.
Yeah, culmination.
Yeah, that's the word. Because he was doing it. It seemed for a while. It wasn't just like 1 year. He was like, I'm just gonna sleep with everyone.
Yeah,
like, This was definitely going on for a few years, and I think he got into a routine. And when it builds up over time, it's going to be a bigger fallout.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But while he was in it, I mean, it definitely didn't seem like he was like everything that he was doing away from golf was really affecting his game mentally or physically or anything like that. I honestly think it seemed like it was bolstering his game, if anything. But,
You're right.
But I mean, also it can be said that certain things in Tiger Woods' life, like the passing away of his father, when his dad died, that's kind of when he started to go downhill a little bit too.
Yeah.
He wasn't really the same golfer after his dad passed away. So I think certain instances like that you can bring up and things like that like kind of big traumatic events that happen around your life or something where you can't really come back from or anything like that too. So, or if you just had like
that's an interesting point though, because I feel like sometimes if there's a death in the family, there's like divine intervention almost.
Yeah.
Because like when that game Brett Favre played.
I was about to say the Brett Favre game after his dad died. Yep.
Yeah, and a few years ago when I had Torrey Smith on my fantasy team, I remember this kind of specifically. I was in Boston. We saw a game. We were going to see a game at Fenway, and that morning ESPN reported was it his brother?
It was his brother. I
believe it was his brother. Yeah, extensive research as always in the squad sportscast department. I think it was his brother who died, and my brother was like, "You should bench him." Like we were in different leagues, so this wasn't like a right, like a collusion, sabotage type thing. It wasn't that. He was in his own world. I was in, and I was like, you know what? Like I feel like they always play better when that happens, and he ended up catching 3 touchdowns that day. Yeah. So it's kind of with that. Yeah, it's a dedicated game, dedicated to the fallen. I mean, look at Isaiah Thomas this most recent season, whose sister died and was tragically killed, and he came out and he had a great NBA playoffs until he got injured, until he played the Cavaliers. I mean, he dropped 50, or I believe it was 55 against the Wizards. I mean, it wasn't the same series in which his sister died, but it was still playoffs, and he still, had a great series overall, I guess. Yeah, but I mean, sometimes the athletes can do a really good job of compartmentalizing a certain aspect in their life and then applying it to their field of craft. Yeah, which I think is a key to being a good athlete. Yes. Definitely not to compare myself, but when I was still active in sports, that was kind of my outlet of like, okay, I had a stressful day at school, but I'm gonna go play golf, and I'm friends with most of the team, so we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna shank a few balls, but we're gonna laugh at it. Yeah. And it's kind of like the mindset of getting away. So I think the professional athletes know how to do that a lot better. That's why they're playing in
professional.
Yeah. I feel it might depend on the event too. You know, like sometimes like Brett Favre's dad dying. I don't think that was it natural causes or was it?
I don't think
it was like I know it was back in like the 90s, right? Late 90s, early 2000s.
Probably early 2000s.
Like it was fairly early in his career. Maybe halfway through his career because he played forever. But something like that happens where it's kind of like there's no story behind it. Like if someone this is such a weird turn we took here, but if someone dies like in their sleep of old age, right? It's like not sports related, but Weird Al's parents died before he did a concert, and they died falling asleep. It's kind of tragic because they let the fire burn
wow.
But apparently they were both like fast asleep and cuddling, so it was like he knew that, and so he according to people on Reddit, apparently it was like the best concert he ever put on. So it's kind of like versus like partying on a boat, which is something under your own control.
Yeah, where it's kind of self-sabotage right there. Yeah. It's what we call hustling backwards. Is where like you made the executive decision as a group that we're gonna fly down to Miami after winning, clinching our playoff spot. Fly down to Miami and party on a boat.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hate to always keep on bringing back Odell Beckham Jr. But I mean, he is a go. I mean, he is a go-to because he is the guy that most recently has been this kind of crazy, wild individual who like a lot of times lets his antics kind of affect his field of his play, especially because of how emotional he gets.
I
mean,
our age too, which boggles my mind.
Right.
I'm older than OBJ. Like, I graduated high school a year before he did.
And yes, I mean, so it's crazy to think that. And I mean, these dudes are stars, but at the same time, they're our age. You know, I mean,
especially now, like Zeke and even Carson Wentz, and especially in the NFL, I feel like they only play 1 or 2 years of college.
I mean, in college basketball, they play 1 year.
Yeah.
Hell, LeVar Ball just pulled his kid out of back 2 years of high school.
Yeah. With the ball situation, I feel like from what I've seen, those kids seem to be pretty calm compared to their dad.
Well, yeah.
I don't know a lot about them though. I've just seen interviews and a few other things, and they seem to be like quiet and calm. And
well, here's the thing.
Please inform me, because like I said, I don't know too much.
The Ball family is basically the Kardashians of basketball. Call them the Baldashians. That's at least what I call them.
The Baldashians.
They could also, the same argument could also be made that they are the Lion family from Empire. I don't know if you watch Empire. Usually most white people don't watch Empire, so. My
parents watch them.
Yeah, I mean, there's no in this analogy, there's no cookie line in here, but there is a Lucius who's very outspoken, very, very full of himself kind of individual, same as LeVar. Then you have like the young one, like with Hakeem and LaMelo, that are like very youngish, and they do young crazy wild stuff and things like that. Then you kind of have like the oldest one. I think closer resembles LiAngelo, because he's not the best player. And
is he the one who cherry picked, or was that the?
No. The one who cherry picked was LaMelo. Okay, he's the one. He's the one who has 90 points a game. LiAngelo is the one who's the dad. Like LeVar said, I don't think he's gonna play in the NBA. He has at least shot of playing in the NBA out of all his sons, and they're just a crazy family. And it's actually been a surprise to me that Lonzo has been able to still play his game. How all of them have still been able to play their game with such a boisterous father. I think that's such a wild outside circumstance. Just because the dad's gonna say some crazy wild stuff. They're gonna do some crazy things. It's said that they're the Kardashians of basketball. I mean, crazy mom slash dad that just runs everything and is always out for the best interests of their kids, and all be damned to everybody else. And they're gonna do and say some controversial things, but I mean that's fine because they're at the end of the day they're making their money and
yeah, I was gonna say he's not exactly a bad businessman.
no, not at all.
Until the sneaker thing, but
yeah,
the $500 for a shoe for an unproven kid is a little much.
Well, I mean you just.
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, his high school son has a pair of shoes that are $395,
yeah, which is awesome.
or actually $385. Actually, I think.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No, but you can also get the Lonzo 2s for $1,000 too. It just comes in a fancier box, has a mirror and has LED lights, so you can see how they look on your feet. In case you didn't know.
I didn't know.
In case those of SportsSqwad, those faithful listeners didn't know either.
The faithful listeners of the yet published.
Yeah.
SportsSqwad. Yet published at the time of recording. I should put a disclaimer on every video. This was recorded at a previous time.
But like I said, I mean, for those kids, they've done a very good job as of right now of putting away what their father has said and really just still doing their thing and still playing basketball and doing pretty well. I mean, all of them got Division I scholarship offers from UCLA, and they're all about to go play. I mean, one of them already left UCLA in the NBA now, and one's at there now, and then LaMelo will be there in a year or two, I guess, 2 years. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't always affect everybody, and I guess that's the biggest takeaway is that when it comes to athletes, they do a better job of thinking of taking what we think would be a big detrimental issue to them, like a parent passing away or something along those lines. Also, I know we're talking a lot about the Bulls, but another thing that they've been able to do is they played well, and their mom is very sick.
See, I didn't know.
Like she's had seizures and things like that. Like she's been in and out of the hospital. Like she just got back to the house, and she's been in the hospital for like the last few months. So they've been able to play well. I mean, compartmentalize. I mean, you can. I mean, actually, I will say this. There's the little story that was floating around the time when Lonzo got absolutely destroyed in the Sweet 16 against Kentucky by De'Aaron Fox, and De'Aaron Fox, I think, dropped 39 against him in that game, and he didn't have a great game at all, and they got bounced out of the tournament too, and that was like when their mom's health was at its worst. Like she was just put in the hospital and everything like that too. So at the same time, situations like that could happen, and like your mind is weighing so heavily on something like that. I know we just talked about deaths and families and things like that being effect, but I mean if it's still kind of lingering, I mean if you have a death, I mean I feel like that's kind of immediate closure. Like you know what happened. It's tough. It's tough, but you putting it all together. But while you have sick, and like what could happen? Like I don't like you're assuming the worst. The death, the worst has already happened. Like you come to grips with that. You've been able to close that out of your mind a little bit. This is not me speaking from any kind of personal experience, but just what I've.
No, yeah, it's similar to getting deep here on SportsSqwad. But, I had two incidents when I was younger with my mom's dad and then my dad's mom. So my grandparents on either side. My first year of college, my grandmother died, but she was in the hospital for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then she had a procedure, and the procedure went fine. It was the after effects, but like everybody kind of knew what was going on. It just caught us off guard that it was right after the procedure went well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was complications after. Like it wasn't complications due to the procedure. Yeah, I'm trying to clarify that. I was also in North Carolina when it happened, and this happened in New Jersey, so it was kind of like, I didn't get too much information anyway. And then my first year at Towson, my grandfather died on my mom's side, and that was more of he was doing well for a while. He was like 93, and then he kind of went in the hospital, and we kind of saw that one coming too. So it was kind of like, okay, like we kind of prepared ourselves, where something else like that's more sudden can really affect you.
Yeah.
I think if it depends on how your relationships were, though.
Right,
like
exactly.
I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't that close with my grandfather. He was closer to my brother than he was me. And then my grandmother was, once I went away to college, I didn't talk to her as
Yeah.
much, you know. And I was also, 17, which isn't that young, but also, like, I didn't ask questions, and my parents didn't tell me exactly what was going on. They just said, so I kind of didn't know what was going on. So sometimes that happens too. You just don't know enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I went through a similar thing like that with my grandmother going in, and she was in the hospital for like months while I was up at school too, and that's kind of just lingers, like I said. And when it comes to situations like that, especially when it comes to athletes, I mean, having that kind of linger over your mindset, kind of tough to go in and out of your days, and like perform your craft to the best of your ability, you know. But at the same time, I mean, it's insane what a lot of these players are able to do. And like another thing that I always find completely insane is watching how quick players come back from injury.
Okay, this actually leads to what I was going to say. But Adrian Peterson coming off the first ACL tear.
Yes.
Was ridiculous.
Yeah, he ran for like 2,000 yards after that season, didn't he?
I'm pretty sure he led the league.
Yeah. He was like, come back, he played a year, like MVP player,
And he tore his ACL like late the previous season.
Yeah.
Like, that's
with
a
the last game of
month recovery. Like, and he came back after like 8 or something like that. Like, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Like,
and
also, John Cena 2008 Royal Rumble, coming back after 4 months when it was supposed to be a 7-month procedure, tore his
like labrum or something like that. Something
whatever's
in the shoulder.
here. Yeah, something in the shoulder. He tore it.
Rotator cuff?
I don't think it was a rotator. I want to say it was his trapezoid is back here, but I don't know. But yeah, that was like, and that wasn't even like a wrestling storyline. Like, they didn't embellish the injury. Like, literally everyone was like, he's gonna be out at least 6 months, probably closer to 8 to 12, and he came back after 4. Like, I think that's why that story I like that story, because, like I said, it had nothing to do with the wrestling storyline.
Right.
Like, they didn't paint it out at all. He just came back 3 months before he was supposed to. I mean, winning the Royal Rumble was obviously booked that way, but
right,
still coming back and able to compete, And like, back to well, the counter thing with Adrian Peterson is the whole kid incident.
Yes.
And I feel like, last year he played. Was it last year or the year before? He played fairly well, but this year he's not doing too well in the Saints from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, at the same time, that was a bad situation he was going into to begin with. I mean, you're going into New Orleans, you already know is a pass happy offense. Yeah. They already have Mark Ingram there, who's over 1,000-yard rusher, and then at the same time they just drafted a running back high in Alvin Kamara too. And I was like, where are the carries going to go? Like, are there 4 footballs on the field? Because if they are, then that'll be ideal. But if there's not, then that really doesn't set them up for any kind of success. And then now they want to talk about trading. They're asking the Vikings to trade back. I'm like, why would they do that? I understand Dalvin Cook just tore his ACL, but there's a reason why you signed Latavius Murray to a 3-year contract. It's for me. As far as like when we talk about off-field incidents, and just dealing. I think a part of that is injury too, and it's wild to see how fast these dudes can come back from injury. Like, they're like, oh yeah, he just had knee surgery, he just had like knee fluids drain or whatever. I'm like, most people would be out would be on crutches or something like that for months.
From what I've heard, I've never had.
Yeah, but it just doesn't sound comfortable.
Yeah.
Like,
fluid, and they're taking like painkillers before the game.
Yeah.
Authorized. They're not like popping pills. Like, authorized doctor shot. What's it? Cortisone or
cortisone or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. Granted, they're heavily medicated. Like, if you ever watch Any Given Sunday, you'll see like how ugly that can be.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to see that, and like just see how fast they can come back. But as far as off-field incidents,
I was gonna say injuries are kind of.
I feel like they're
usually fluke, and ACLs especially in any sport. It's
ACLs, torn Achilles, and things like that.
Yeah, it's non-contact. Achilles is similar to it's not contact. And Achilles, I learned in my junior year of high school. My health teacher told us to tear your Achilles, like completely, not rupture it.
Mm-hmm.
To tear it, you need a genetic weakness for that to happen.
Jesus.
Yeah. So when you hear of a complete tear of an Achilles, that's like you already had a weekend.
Yeah.
Because your Achilles is tough. Like, that is a tight tendon. But to go with Achilles and injuries, Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
2012. That really came back from that.
He's never been the same since then. Granted, I mean he was already pretty old when 2012 had happened.
Yeah, he was old, and people said he was already declining at the time. But I think that Achilles kind of made it so he wouldn't ever be back to what he was. I mean, he was the 2006 MVP and Rookie of the Year. He had 59 home runs that year, or 58. You know, and he was such a strong cleanup hitter. Struck out 200 times a year, but when you hit 58 home runs, you'll take the 200 strikeouts.
Take the good with the bad, you know.
Yeah, but now he was striking out a lot more, and he wasn't hitting as much. And the Phillies didn't re-sign him last year, and then Braves signed him to a minor league deal, and then they cut him because he didn't make it past Single A, and then the Rockies signed him near the end of this season.
Did they really? I didn't know that at all.
But he's not eligible for the playoffs, so he's minor league deal. So maybe in Colorado, maybe he can hit 50 home runs again.
Well, I mean, if there's a ballpark to do it, yeah. But I mean, when it comes to certain things that players have to deal with, when it comes to dealing with any kind of off-field, off-court incidences, I think of what the Clippers had to deal with the owner, with Sterling, and
owner's a good turn to David. Continue.
And it was kind of wild watching that because not only did they had to deal with racist remarks by their owner when the league is more than 75% black. I mean, the entire team is for the most part black, with I think with maybe the exception of like JJ Redick. I know they had on the roster, but that was only other white person I could account for, and half of Austin Rivers, and that was about it. But I mean, it was just kind of crazy to see what they had to deal with. I mean, they weren't the same playoff team because there was so much coverage around it, and it was kind of hard for them to kind of get into the flow of the business that they're doing every single day and trying to play. And this is in the playoffs too, so trying to play in a playoff series against a tough opponent. I can't remember off the top of my head who they played that year, but I mean, it's just tough. At the same time, you got league-wide outrage across all these other players. Players wearing "I Can't Breathe" shirts and things like that, and it's kind of wild. It's from that vantage point, it's kind of tough. Yeah. I imagine to watch them kind of get into a flow and kind of get into a rhythm of like, hey, we need to get ready for a playoff opponent here, and we got our racist owner spewing nonsense about how he doesn't want Magic Johnson at his games. I mean, that didn't age well because it can kind of be tough for Magic Johnson to not be at your games now since he's a GM of the Lakers. But
also with racist owners, Dan Snyder of the Redskins. Not refusing. I'm pretty sure. This is one of the stories where I heard so much. I lost track of what's true and what's not. But from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is he doesn't want the name changed.
Yes.
Even though there has been proposals to change it.
Yes.
So he's the one saying no, and it's his team, so it's a tough hump to get over.
Yeah.
And it's like with that going on, and the coaching controversy and the Kirk Cousins, is he good enough? Is he not
firing a GM and not ever rehiring a GM?
Yeah.
And Doug McMahon.
So I feel like the past few years, the Washington football team.
Yeah.
The Washington football team. God, I hate that.
Washington racial slurs.
Washington. Yeah.
That's kind of definitely a thing that's been looming.
So it's just a lot of attention. That's not game relevant.
And then now with Trump saying, calling everybody sons of bitches. I mean, that's obviously something that's weighing on all the NFL players' minds. I mean, people a lot of players got very emotional after that, just because there was maybe a handful of players that were kneeling for the anthem at the time, and he just decided to call everybody in the league a son of a bitch. And look, and people aren't gonna respond positively to that. I mean, that's a very tough off-field thing when the president of the United States calls you a son of a bitch for 5 people kneeling.
Yeah,
I mean, how do you respond to that? I mean, obviously, league-wide outrage is, a lot of players kneeling and things like that, and then getting owners to lock arms and things like that. But at the same time, you have owners that gave Trump $1 million for it during his campaign, and they're the ones that are bright, like in the middle of the arm length. Dan Snyder, Shad Khan, Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's tough for you to do that. I mean, you back this dude, and then your players are looking at him like, this is your guy.
Yeah,
this is your guy. This is what you did. You can't. You backed him, and then now he comes out and says derogatory things towards us, and now you want to link arms and join the cause and kneel and everything like that. I'm like, no, it doesn't. As a player, that's kind of tough because you feel a slight betrayal at that point. I honestly, again, this is not me speaking. Obviously, not speaking for any kind of personal experience. Just kind of.
We have sources.
Yeah, right.
We talk to the players.
Yeah, I'm in direct contact with Adam Schefter all day. So I mean, it's tough, and I think that's a very tough off-field incident to kind of have to deal with, to now be back at it and everything like that.
With that, I feel like that's a Trump versus the NFL, and I know the owners, like you were saying, there is an effect there. But I feel like there's not a lot of players. It's not like split in the NFL.
Yeah.
Basically, from what I've seen, all the players are against Trump.
Yeah.
It seems like there could be a few outliers.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, for those players that are not against Trump, it's tough for them to speak out because of how strongly that the people who have spoken out against Trump are speaking out against Trump.
If you're the type of person who you can support whoever you want. I probably won't like you, but you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Retweet.
But you have to know you're in the minority. And that goes for any occasion, not just... That's my theory on life.
Yeah.
Like, if you know you're in the minority, then you have to know to pick your battles carefully, to choose your words carefully, to understand.
Right.
What's
And I'm sure if we were in this and we were in the minority as well, we'd be like, it's kind of tough. Because we're in the minority. Yeah. As much as I want to, I'm like, I know I'm not going to have the kind of public backing about this that I'd expect.
For example, to go along with that, when I was younger, when I was in high school, I was a firm believer in college athletes not getting paid because they already had a lot for them. I have switched.
Yeah.
I have done a complete 180 on that opinion. But when I was younger in high school and the beginning of college, right, I spoke. It was before it got really big too, but I spoke out a fair amount, and then I realized, I am in the minority because it's me and my one other friend, and everybody else is against us.
Right.
They didn't hate on us. I didn't lose any friendships over it.
Yeah.
Right. My brother thought that too. Like he thought college athletes should be paid, and I didn't at the time. And I just knew. I was like, okay, I know I'm in the minority, so I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna just chill. I'm gonna eat my words. Then as I did more research and I learned more, I did complete 180.
Yeah.
They should definitely get paid, but that is
another podcast.
That is a separate. That is literally already written down.
We should make next week like a 2-part. Oh no, because we're gonna have Ryan here next week. But
yeah. Well, we could if you want to go Monday and Tuesday, we could. Just discussing future plans on the recording. We've done that before though. I don't know about SportsSqwad, but we've done it on Squadcast. We've discussed what our plans are.
But yeah, it is tough for those people who are for him to kind of speak out, and even obviously even the owners who had spoken, who were for him prior, while he was running, prior to the son of a bitch comment and things like that, they were for him, and then they very quickly spoke out once. Yeah. Once came out. And that, like I said, it puts the owners in a weird spot too, because they're like, we want our players to be happy. Like they're not gonna be happy if we're not backing this. If we're still backing this dude who's shown very much that he's not with them. I mean, and then you're gonna lose a lot of respect from your players, and then you don't have a product, and then you're screwed. I mean, you're SOL.
Yeah.
because what they want to make is their money, and they're not going to make money if their players aren't playing.
Absolutely.
So,
a kind of quick turn here. We got about 10 minutes. Well, depending on how long you want to go, but you got about 10 minutes until the 45-minute mark. I don't know where Robbie is. Anyway, I was gonna make a joke, but the time wouldn't make sense. Not that stopped us before, but the two college incidents I thought of about coaches were the Steve Sarkisian incident at USC when he was like drunk at a game or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And then he was fired like later that season, which if he was, he should be.
Right.
To coach a game drunk is a fireable offense. And the last year with the whole Lane Kiffin coaching when Lane Kiffin got hired before the national championship,
and he left. And well, he initially was going to stay.
Yeah.
He initially stayed for the semi.
Yeah, for the first game.
And then he left because he couldn't deal with Saban anymore, or whatever he wants to claim happened.
Yeah. So those are two college incidents that popped into my head, and that's kind of like, oh, okay, you kind of see how, especially the Alabama one, how it affects the game, because Clemson, I mean, it also was a rematch, and I think Clemson knew how to they prepared a little better. So,
and they knew that they couldn't stop they couldn't stop Deshaun Watson either.
Just recently went all Clemson again, dropping 57 or whatever.
Yeah, against the Titans.
Yeah. I think, wasn't it tied 14-14?
No, they were beating them. They were beating them pretty bad. Like, it was 21-0 before at one point. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a somewhat close game in the first quarter. I mean, I was watching Red Zone. So
Yeah.
But later, I was watching Red Zone. Scott Hansen is one of my favorite people on earth, and it was like the middle of the third quarter, and he literally they just scored. Texans just scored, and he's like, "We are only showing touchdowns from this point on. We are not showing when they get into the red zone anymore." And I was like, "Wow." In my 3 years of watching Red Zone, I don't think I've ever heard that happen. Like, where they just won't show the teams
driving to get to the touchdown.
Yeah.
But
that's the whole point of the name of the channel.
Right.
It's called Red Zone. Like, when they get in the red zone, they cut to the game. Yeah.
But no, I mean, you're right when it comes to like those the college players who were in a weird spot because the coach can just, their positional coach or coordinator can just leave in the middle of the season. Or they can just retire in the middle of the season. I mean, they've been recruited by this coach the entire time and everything like that. Like when Steve Spurrier just left not so long ago, and South Carolina, and he just left in the middle of the season. I can't imagine being a player and being like, so you're a coach and you just abandoned us in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Like they were playing, especially South Carolina that season, they were playing bad. They were not a good team. And then it just kind of looks like he quit on them because they weren't a good team. And he's like, "Well, I want to leave while I'm remembered finally." And I feel like that's like as a player, you gotta be like, "The hell, this guy just left us in the middle of like it was nothing. He's abandoned us. He just recruited us." And on when it comes to off-field incidences as well, there's one that just happened in the news not too long ago, and I'm very interested to see what Louisville does in basketball this upcoming season.
That's a good one. Yes.
I mean,
that almost flew under the radar with everything else going on.
Right. You're probably gonna lose. Probably gonna lose Pitino. I mean, he's gonna be.
He's already got it.
Well, they paid him on I think last time I saw they had fired him, but then they didn't fire him. They put him on unpaid leave or whatever. But he's basically fired.
Yeah.
And they recruited this 5-star athlete, this 5-star basketball player who's number 14 in the country, Brian Bowen, I believe his name is. They paid him $100,000 to go to Louisville, and he's suspended indefinitely. He's not allowed to be a part of any of the practices.
Was he part of the recruiting?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, they listed him as a player that they wanted to pay. That they paid $100,000 to land his recruitment.
So that was, like I said, this was on the radar. I saw a few headlines. But,
right.
So that $100,000 was not like a scholarship money.
No. This is straight
up.
We got you.
$100,000.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So yes.
College.
So yeah, so I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, like I said, that was definitely about to fly under the radar, but it's very interesting to see what this team's going to be like. Especially
they're a Final Four team.
Yeah, especially with the coaches that you still have coaching this team as well. They're like, well, what do we do now? I mean, we're expecting this kid to be our number one, our golden egg, and do well for us this upcoming season, and then. Doesn't look like he's going to be there. We're expecting. I mean, Pitino has been the coach there for a while. Doesn't look like he's going to be there. They were losing recruits from the upcoming recruiting class as well too. I know they already lost a 4-star recruit, one of the top recruits that they brought in, and another 4-star recruit. So I'm very, very interested to see what Louisville is going to look like next year when it comes to basketball. Just because, I mean, that's a huge off-court incident that happened that is affecting this whole team, affecting the whole university too. Like
I think, with college, it's definitely I think a bigger impact because it affects so many people.
Right, exactly. I mean,
and
it's not because people always forget like, oh yeah, they like the university has this coming. Like when they punished Penn State for the Jerry Sandusky stuff. Like, oh yeah, Penn State has this coming. Like, I mean, the people like the higher ups, the coaches, the president, things like that. The people who knew. They had it coming. These players are looking at like, why are we getting our name thrown in the mud because our coach decided that he wanted to do something risky or something shady or something like that. And
college is.
There's a lot of issues in college, and
that is literally separate.
Yeah, we keep on having to remind ourselves.
But with college, I was saying another thing that was somewhat recent was the Baylor incident.
Oh yeah.
And I can't imagine being Matt Rule.
Well,
that's another thing too because he kind of has both ends. He left Temple after saying he wasn't.
Yeah.
He brought them. He was doing well with them. They were ranked. I think they won their bowl game last year, and he said he was going to stick around for a while and then takes like 5 times more than what he was making, and to go to Baylor.
And then he's like, I'm good, yo.
Severe, consequences for the Title IX incident.
Yeah.
So to beat Matt Rule right now, I can't imagine being him.
I mean, it's got to be tough because you look at the situation. Baylor was winning.
Baylor was destroying.
They were huge in the Big 12. That was starting back when they had RG3 back there when he was young. Before he
started with it.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. They were getting top recruits, and then once the whole Title IX stuff came out, then it affected everything because that affects recruiting. At one point, they had one committed recruit in their entire recruiting class. Their quarterback, the quarterback they have now, a new Solomon, was a transfer from Arizona. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. They went from a 10-win team, a team that was going to go to a bowl game, that was going to bowl games every year, to potentially competing in the Big 12 to win the Big 12 every year. They might not win a game this year. They lost to Liberty this year.
Yeah.
Like. That's
Like college affects so many people.
So it affects everybody.
It affects the AD. It affects
president. It affects the student base too.
Student body, I can't. Not that my AD position is anywhere near Division I football or Division I school, but I get paperwork on a lot smaller level. I want to clarify that. On a lot smaller level, but it's like, oh, okay, if I had a swimmer, for some reason we had illegal recruiting, and that happened, then all of a sudden, like, people might not want to play anymore in the school, right? And then I can imagine how it affects, because all of a sudden I have to talk to the coaches, and I have to see, okay, was this on my end? Do I defend myself because I wasn't doing anything right? Do I have to defend, somebody, one of the coaches? Do I throw them under the bus? I can't imagine that pressure at a Division I school. And for severe, recruiting has been a problem that's kind of always been there. I think it's gotten because
coaches will do whatever they find necessary to bring in a top recruit to make sure that they're a winning program, so they don't get fired, so they can keep on feeding their families. And granted, I mean, when you're getting paid millions of dollars,
you own the state of Alabama,
right,
which
exactly.
is what Nick Saban does. He owns everything except the city of Auburn. Like literally that entire
And
stadium.
he'll own Auburn probably.
Probably,
Probably when they play the Iron Bowl.
Yeah. But what was that? I had something that I wanted to. I don't know. It slipped my mind. I was thinking about it and then I went away. I'm getting old.
You're already older than Odell, so yeah.
Oh yeah. So we're actually at almost 47 minutes. So do you have any final thoughts? I mean, I think we covered a fair amount.
Yeah.
Holding back on the college until I don't know how much Ryan knows about college, so we might hold that.
Yeah.
Either next Tuesday.
But we got hockey starting up, so he can talk hockey
on
the
tomorrow, the 4th.
Yeah. No, I'm going to the game on Saturday. The Caps game on Saturday.
Nice. Yeah. We'll get into it, but the Joel Ward / Wayne Simmons thing, taking a knee. They were asked.
Oh yeah, I know. PK Subban said he wasn't going to take a knee.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of because I think Joe Ward's on the Sharks now.
Yeah.
And the Flyers play the Sharks, so two black people.
It's like
2/3 of the black population.
Yeah. Ears perk up. What's happening here?
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's been a lot of Wayne Simmons said he was, and then he said he wasn't, and then he made a statement on Twitter about it. And we'll wait for Ryan to have his hot take on hockey. I don't know. Yeah, so that was off the field antics affecting on the field performances. I want to say if you guys have anything to say, but we're not that big yet. So I do want that. Please comment with thoughts, anything we might have missed, anything we might have gotten wrong. Call us out on it.
Yeah, be our Tony Reale on PTI.
Yeah. Or if you have anything to add, link an article or something about it, and then that's it. So that is episode 4 in the books.
Whoop whoop.
Yeah. Awkward outro.
Per usual.
Yeah. And squad out.